Well, it's snowing again. Really getting sick and tired of this. Spring. When? Well, tomorrow's supposed to be a nice day. I got the day off too, so that's nice. Gonna hang out, watch some movies, and relax. Who's that? Nice. This week's episode of As You Eat It is dedicated to cooking as self-care. Cooking can bring you joy, cooking can bring you comfort. Cooking allows you to expand your creative horizons and really play in the kitchen. It also helps when you get a mystery box of ingredients. Could be berries, could be tomatoes, could be greens, could be celery root like we got today. That really allows you to kind of play fast and loose and really kind of explore what you can do. After all, cooking is jazz, baby. It is straight up jazz. For our entree today, we are making a private jet chicken with a celery root and potato mash, some balsamic glazed radishes, yum, and a mustard pan sauce. And for dessert, because I like to have dessert from time to time, we're doing a mixed berry brown Betty with lavender whipped cream. Try saying that 5 times fast. But first, let's see how you can make it. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Remember, times and temperatures may vary, so you might have to play around with it. Next, we're going to quarter a pint of strawberries. We're going to take the stems off, cut down, turn down again, and then into our bowl. Next up, about 6 ounces of blueberries go into the mix. Just to finish up the cutting here, we are going to roll and halve a blood orange and set that aside while we deal with the other ingredients. A pinch of kosher salt goes in. Yes, salt in dessert. It'll heighten the flavors. About a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. If you don't have vanilla bean paste, you certainly can use vanilla extract. A heaping tablespoon of granulated sugar goes in, followed by the juice of that blood orange to moisten everything up. And a little cracked black pepper to taste for a little heat and depth. And about 2 tablespoons of red wine. I'm using a Cabernet Sauvignon, but whatever you have on hand is fine. Stir to combine and get that sugar dissolved and that syrup going. We're going to cover and set aside while we deal with the sweetened crumbs for our brown Betty. We have a stick of unsalted butter that we're going to cube up and pop into our glass measuring cup. Going to make it easier to pour later. We're going to microwave that. It's going to take about a minute. I would recommend stopping at 30 seconds and taking it slowly after that so you don't have a butter explosion. 2 cups of panko breadcrumbs go into our mixing bowl, followed by equal parts, about ½ cup each, of light brown sugar and granulated sugar, followed by some cinnamon to taste. Oh, our butter's ready. Let's grab it. Melted butter goes in. And stir to combine. It's going to look like wet sand when we're done. About like that. We're going to set that aside till we're ready to assemble. We have our little drip pan here, followed by our 4 ramekins. We're going to start with a layer of the berries, juice and all, just nice and even. Layer that down in the bottom there, followed by our sweetened crumbs. And another layer of berries, like so. And top off with the remaining crumbs. Flatten it out a little bit, make it a little crust. And then into the oven they go. And we're gonna bake until golden brown and bubbly. Between 30 and 45 minutes, I would start checking at 30 minutes and turning if it's not evenly browned. Time to make the whipped cream. A pint of heavy whipping cream goes into our stand mixer here with the whisk attachment. Turn that on to stir, and we're going to slowly stream in our granulated sugar and lavender paste, both to taste. I like a lightly sweetened whipped cream, so I'm not going too heavy on that. And we're just going to let that go until the cream thickens and we have lovely, luscious peaks. It's going to take maybe 7 minutes or so. I'm going to make sure we get every little bit of that off the whisk. Into our container it goes, and we're going to seal it up, and we're going to wait for our brown Betties. Magic of the internet. I think we're done. Let's see. It's warm in here. Huh. Looking good. Time to plate. Nice little springy plate there. Our brown Betty, followed by our whipped cream and a little side bowl here. That's all she wrote. It is time for the main event. We have private jet chicken over a celery root and potato mash with some balsamic glazed radishes on the side and a mustard pan sauce. You're probably thinking, it's private jet chicken. Well, it's a riff on airline chicken, which is a boneless chicken breast with the drumette from the wing still attached. Now, mine is a little bit different. What makes it private jet is that I have the flag attached to the drumette of the wing as well, because anytime you can get wings, it's a good time. Check it out. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and while that's heating, let's get to work on our celery root and potato mash. We have 3 celery roots that we're going to trim and peel, just using our chef's knife down the side like so. Peel 1 large russet potato and get to cutting. We're going to cut our celery roots in half and then into quarters and then into rough chop. And for our potato, we're going to down in half, into quarters, into eighths, and then we're going to roughly chop that. We have our pot here, and then everything goes into the pot, followed by a generous seasoning of kosher salt and a splash of rice wine vinegar to add a little tangy note in the background. 3 sprigs of thyme go in, as well as enough cold water to cover the celery root and potatoes. Cover it up, onto the stove it goes, bring it to a boil, and then simmer until tender, about 25 minutes or so. And it's time to butcher our chicken. Find the breastbone with your boning knife, make our initial cut, and the key is long, clean strokes, using the breastbone as a guideline, so that way you will get the natural curvature and a cleaner cut. Trim off that wing tip, save that for stock. Just gonna run my finger along the back here to see if we have any bones. We're good. Now go wash your hands. We're going to heat our saute pan over medium-high. It's going to take about 7 minutes. So while we're doing that, let's season the chicken. Kosher salt from up high, followed by our cracked black pepper, some roasted garlic powder, yum, and onion powder, all to taste. We have our tongs here. We're going to flip our chicken over like so. And we're going to repeat the seasoning process. Since we are seasoning the meat right now, I would go a little bit heavier, but again, it is to your taste. And this is a method, so you really can use whatever seasonings you like here. This particular seasoning blend is a good blank canvas that you can use with anything. Swirl in a little olive oil and a mix of safflower and avocado oil since we are cooking over high heat. Our chicken goes in. We're going to let that sear until the skin is golden brown and crispy, about 7 minutes or so over medium-high. Then we're going to reduce the heat to medium and flip our chicken. Let that go for another 7 minutes before giving it a butter baste for additional flavor and moisture. 3 sprigs of thyme go in, followed by a good knob of butter. We're just going to let that melt and brown and mix in with the pan juices while we check on our potatoes and celery root. We have our paring knife here, see if we are done, and we're done. Let's mash. Drain off your celery root and potatoes, give it an extra shake to get all that moisture off, and then back into the pot it goes. Once we're done mashing, we're going to put the lid back on and keep the potatoes and celery root warm until service. A 1/4 cup of whole milk goes in, as well as 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Season up with kosher salt and cracked black pepper to taste, and get to mashing. I like a rustic chunkiness to it, but you certainly can puree it in a food processor as well if you like. To butter baste, we are going to tilt the pan towards us and then cascade those lovely juices and butter over top of our chicken. Do that for about 2 minutes, remove to a sheet pan, and then into the oven they go at 350 for about 10 minutes or so, just to finish cooking the breast and the wing through. While that's working, let's get our pan sauce going. I have about a cup of low sodium chicken broth going into our pan here, as well as a couple of good squirts of horseradish mustard. If you're going to twist my arm, say about 2 tablespoons. We're going to whisk that all together and bring it to a boil. We're going to get all those brown bits that fond off the bottom of our pan. We're going to move it to our back burner here, pop our skillet on, and let's trim some radishes. We're going to cut the ends off of about 10 radishes, cut them in half, And while we wait for our skillet to heat, let's mount our sauce with about a teaspoon of butter. And another teaspoon of butter goes into our skillet along with our saute oil. We're gonna stir our sauce here. Check that, we're good. Move that to the side. Then our radishes go in and we're just gonna let these saute, a little kosher salt and cracked black pepper. We're gonna brown these off, get them nice and roasty and softened. It's gonna take about 10 minutes or so. Just keep turning them so they get nice and golden and beautiful. And to finish it off, we're gonna use a little bit of balsamic vinegar and we're gonna deglaze the pan with it, and it's gonna make a nice syrupy lacquer for these beautiful radishes. Let it go for a couple minutes until you insert a paring knife and it comes out clean. And while we're waiting on the radishes, let's remove our chicken from the oven and give it a chance to rest. It's almost dinner time, so you know what that means? It's plating time. Let's get it done. Our plate goes down. Grab our radishes here, and our balsamic glazed radishes are gonna go down first in a nice pile. Yum. Followed by our celery root and potato mash. And we're gonna cut into our rested bird here at a relative angle. 3 nice slices, and then right on top it goes. Pop that back together. There we go. And our pan sauce is gonna go on top, and if it cascades a little bit onto the celery root and potato mash, that's a-okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. Dinner's ready. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. As always, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram at TheChefZ. And while you're at it, give the Fade Route with DNZ a shot. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms. We think you'll really like it. If you would like to be an executive producer of As You Eat It, follow the Patreon link below. And as always, cook how you want to cook, eat how you want to eat. Self-care how you want to self-care. Eat as you eat it. Now, if you excuse me, gotta go to work.